4, 2. Okay, we're at the top of the mountain today.
With Jeff.
Yep.
I don't know. I've never
Guys in the back, enough. Thank you. Here we go. There's the extra, the minus D next to the angle here. We know what A does, amplitude, C does vertical shift, B affects the period. Now this minus D business. Grab your calculator. This one's not quite as easy to see either.
I didn't get that right down.
Alright. You get by today, then you're golden.
Go down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Go to your window again.
Okay, window. All I want to see is one cycle, 0 to 2 pi. So I've got the x minimum set at 0, the x maximum at 2 pi. That scale number doesn't matter. And then the y min's -4 and the y max is 4. Okay, this one's going to be much more difficult to see, and you'll see in a minute. So go back to y equals sine x. And now I want to go sine x minus pi over 3.
I gotta get the calculator.
Okay. Well, you don't have to put the last one in. If you don't put the last one in, it automatically puts it in there. So, what do you think? No, I don't need parentheses around the fraction either. Nope.
That doesn't make sense. I don't know how, I see how it switched it, I just don't know.
How do you think it switched it?
Well, I saw
I'm gonna-
it, it makes it like different. And it like, makes the wave.
There's normal.
It stretches it out.
It didn't stretch it out.
Wait, is the normal and the dark one? Or?
Yeah, my new one's the dark one. It did shift it over. That's why this one's hard to see, a shift over. It's actually completing itself beyond the 2 pi window.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's a shift to the right is what happened. And that's hard to see on this. I don't know how to make you see it other than just to say, well, because the sine is actually starting right here. Starts this graph on the axis instead of back here. So that's what's going on. It's going to finish that much past it. So this is called a horizontal shift or a phase shift. Phase shift. So the D, that went to the right, even though I put in a minus pi over 3. And we'll emphasize that too.
A little plus goes to the left.
Yeah. This is called phase shift. Which is a horizontal shift. Horizontal shift. And if you see a minus D like we had here, minus some value, that's going to shift right. And then a plus D is going to shift left. Just the opposite of what you would think. So, the other thing to remember that's key is that in standard form, the multiplier on the x inside the parentheses is a 1. So if there's a number inside here, you've got to factor it out before we start picking out the phase shift. Otherwise, you'll get that wrong. So standard form has to be outside of the parentheses. Let's do about 3 of these. I'm not going to put any vertical shift in this first one. So we'll do about 3 examples and hopefully you have it by then. Are you ready? Here we go. Oh, example 1. Let's go. Y equals 3 cosine 2 parentheses x minus pi over 4. Okay, let's start with our 4 things we should pick out. Amplitude first. What do we got for amplitude? 3. Period. 2 pi divided by the b. Where's my b? The 2 that's sitting right here is the b, out in front of the parentheses. So the period is pi. Vertical shift. None. There's no number added to this situation, so no vertical shift. Phase shift. Does it have phase shift?
Yes.
How much? Which direction? To the right, pi over 4. So we can just say pi over 4. Okay. Positive automatically implies right. If you put a negative, that's going to imply left.
No. I think that's negative.
I said it wrong. If you write this down, not in here, but right here, when I write down pi over 4, because I saw this was a minus pi over 4, so I know it's to the right, so I put down a positive pi over 4 here, that implies it's going to the right. Okay? If I was to put a negative pi over 4 here, that would imply it's going to the left, but I would have seen a plus pi over 4 here to do that. I am not just copying this number right here. Yes.
So if it's
I know.
plus pi over 4, it's going to be minus pi over 4.
This phase shift will be negative pi over 4. If this says plus pi over 4 here, the phase value is going to be negative pi over 4. Or you can just say left pi over 4 and right pi over 4 if you prefer that. That confuses you. So if you want to, just say right pi over 4 here and call it good. Okay, so you can have pi over 4, or you can say right pi over 4. Okay, so what does that do for us? What does that change? It's going to change the starting x value, because normally where did we start? Every single time we were somewhere on that y-axis, so our x value was 0. But now we've got to start over, which is going to change everything. One, two, three, four. Okay, so we're starting, what's my starting x value? Pi over 4. What's my total period length? Pi. I need a distance of pi. A distance of pi here. So does it end at pi? No, it can't. What's the process we're going to use to get this last value? No. If I was at, forget about the pi, if I was on a number line at 1/4, and I wanted a distance of 1 to get to here, where would I be at? 1 1/4. What did you do to do that? Add. You took your starting x value and added on the whole period length. So, here we go.
Bridget said that.
So it's your phase. Well, Bridget needs to talk louder then. You did not. Oh. Phase plus period is what's going to give you your last value. So our phase was 1/4. Our period is 1 pi. That's 4 over 4. So where's it going to finish at? 5 pi over 4. So those are the big changes here when we have phase shift. We don't start at 0, and then because we don't start at 0, we've got to actually calculate the ending value by adding on that distance, because the period is a distance down the number line. Okay? Now it's just average to get the middle and average to get everything else. So the process now is the same. What's the middle of 1/4 and 5/4? Adding, I get 6/4. That's 3/2 times by 1/2. 3/4. Or I could have just went the middle of 1 and 5 is 3. That works too. What's the middle of 1/4 and 3/4? 2/4 reduces down to 5/2. The middle of 3 and 5 is 4/4, which is pi. You get any better at those? A little bit?
But how did you do the middle one again?
This one?
You can't just divide it by it.
No, I got it because I got a number here that's not 0 this time. Before it was always, we were always just taking half of this.
Yeah.
But now I gotta-
2 and then divide it, right?
Yeah, because otherwise it was 0 plus this number, so it ended up always just being half of this number over here, but not the case.
For adding fractions, you don't add the number.
You don't add the denominator, just get more of that same denominator.
Okay, so I know
Okay,
that. Yeah.
okay. Oh, it's the denominator at the bottom, thank you.
Denominator.
Okay, cosine with amplitude 3. So we have no vertical shift to worry about, so it's just we're coming up and down from the x-axis. So where does cosine start? Max. Where's my max going to be at? 3. My axis is at 0, so I can fill in those 2 spots. Where's my min going to be at? -3, and then 3. Okay, the second table is also much more of a challenge this time, because we can't just do opposites, because it's not going to be just opposites,
Why not?
because we're not at 0.
I don't like this.
I know.
I don't like this.
Yeah, it was going good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I told you today is it. It does not get any harder than today.
This is the easiest.
You
chapter.
promise, like,
This is the easiest chapter, and it's the fractions that are bothering you. Pi over 4.
Well, I see these version.
This chapter is easy.
No.
You don't think this is easy?
Yeah.
Liars.
Yeah, no, I know.
Liars.
I just don't like this.
But we understand it.
Don't give it negative.
Okay. Now, if I'm at pi over 4 on a number line, think about being on a number line, and I want to back up 1.
Or -3 pi.
So it's going to be phase minus the period length. So I just got to back up 1 full period length. So phase is 1/4. Subtract, the period is 1 pi, so 4 over 4. What's 1 minus 4? -3 pi over 4. Okay, now we average to get the middle. Add them up and divide by 2. I'll do it down here. 1/4 plus a -3/4 is what? -1/2, and then half of that, -pi over 4. Okay, this average is going to be easy. What's halfway between pi over 4 and -pi over 4? 0. So we hit the y-axis there. And then what's halfway between -1/4 and -3/4? -1/2. X's got a lot harder, didn't they? Okay, one good thing, y's never change. Cosine's still symmetrical. So y's don't change. Yep. Just the x's are good because of that horizontal shift. That's going to change all the x business today. All right, our sketch. This one's nice because we hit the origin. The ones that don't hit the origin, I'll show you a little trick so everything's spaced correctly. But this did hit the origin, so the origin is one of our points. And then I want everything evenly spaced from there. This is going to be my pi over 4. Oh, pi over 4. Pi over 2. I'm just looking at my first table. 3 pi over 4, pi, 5 pi over 4. So my very first table there, I know it's off the screen, but my first x value is pi over 4. Now when I go to the second table, pi over 4, my next tick mark is at 0, -pi over 4. Not that I had to type that one or write that one in. -3 pi over 4. And then we're up and down 3. We started at 3. At pi over 4, we started at 3. Then we made our way down.